The process can take a long time, and for some young dads it might take several sessions, but you will get to your final hearing.
Let's hear about that now.
The process of going through the courts was stressful, and it was kind of depressing because of how long it took. It kind of just made us think, is it even worth it if it's going to take forever? And I just started giving up hope because I just thought I wasn't going to be good enough. But the Mackenzie friend encouraged us by telling us how good I was going to be as a dad, boosted up my confidence to go through the court process properly.
When I completed the course, it did give us confidence that I knew that I had a bit more knowledge about what I was doing, but at the same time I was the only one requested to do that. So her allegations were the ones I felt like it was looked at more serious than what mine were, and I was the only one that was made to do it. So it was a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. It's important for a dad to have a role just like it is for a mother. Obviously I felt like I wasn't getting a fair say in the argument, or I wasn't getting anything justified for what I was saying, even with proof. So the only way I had coped with it was, I bottled it up, if I'm being honest. It was just keep bottling it up, and then eventually I would spew it out to my Mackenzie friend, and he obviously put us through all sorts. He took us to private sessions or thing for counselling, so stuff like a one-on-one thing. Things like that, just obviously get us to court by it. So at the time I heard everything about the courts, if I'm being honest. I had no support from any of them. So it was just the one thing I had support from, which was my Mackenzie friend from the charity. That was it. If I was giving advice to anyone for going through the process of courts, stick to it. I generally stick to it, because obviously at times I felt like giving in several times. It's a lot to put on you, but it's worth it, if you know what I mean, because obviously at the end of the day you're getting your outcome, whether it's the outcome you wanted or not. You can always appeal against that sort of outcome, but stick through it really, that's all I can say, because obviously everybody's situation is different, so it just depends on the person, but just stick through it all.
You need to take your papers to court for the final hearing, and you need to put them into some kind of order. The application, followed by your statement, followed by any court papers and a Cafcass report. You may be asked to provide copies of this bundle of documents to mother and maybe also the court. If you can, take 2 sets with you, just in case the court hasn't found all the papers and you've got them there. Take pen and paper for you to make some notes. Sometimes a highlighter pen's really helpful, sometimes a post-it note is helpful. And also, if you're taking a drink, take that with you, but as you go through security, be prepared to take a sip from the bottle, because they will ask you to do so.
Not all decisions are made inside the courtroom. Let's hear why.
Most cases actually settle at the door of the court, because once a parent is faced with someone making a decision and imposing it on them, they're more likely to become more reasonable. So if a mother is saying, I don't want the father to see the child, there's been a Cafcass report saying there needs to be some contact and we suggest it starts like this, the mother will have been told, hopefully, if she's got representation, or she'll realise that the court is very likely to adopt that recommendation. So by agreeing something at the door of the court, it gives the mother a bit of room to maybe get something she wants out of the situation. Whereas once you've walked into a courtroom and someone else is making the decision, you've handed that decision making over to a third party and you just have to do what they decide. So lots of cases are settled at the door of the court. And then you can just go in and explain, we've reached agreement, so can we have an order that reflects the agreement? The court will be thrilled with you. The final hearing is a little bit more formal than the first hearing, because decisions are going to be made as to what's going to happen. Because it would be your application, you're going to go first. What you need to do before you go is think about what you're going to say. Possibly write something short down and read it out. It doesn't have to be, half an hour. It doesn't have to be 10 minutes. It could be 2 minutes. But just get clear what you want to say to the person who's making the decision to persuade them to do what you want them to do. Avoid if you can, making allegations. Focus on your child and what's best for your child. And if your child is not seeing a parent, that cannot be good. So talk about, I want my child to grow up knowing both mum and dad. I want to be able to be fully involved. I don't want to be a visiting parent. I want to be a hands-on parent, but I don't want to do anything to disrupt the child's life with mother. So I want to fit into that and find a way forward to do that. So approach it in a positive way as to what's good for the child, rather than this mother prevented me seeing this child, this mother has done this mother's done that, because the court cannot sort those things out, unfortunately. It has to look to the future. So future focus in what you're saying.
Court can be a scary experience. He has some great advice on how to deal with it.
If the mother is making an allegation and you're saying that's not correct, then the court's going to have to hear some evidence from you. So you're going to be asked to confirm that everything you're going to say is going to be the truth. And you can do that on a Bible, or you can just say, I'm affirming it. Again, they're going to tell you what to do. Don't worry about it. Once you've done that, they're listening hard to what you've got to say in terms of the evidence. And so you will be asked questions and you answer those questions, and then you're done from that point of view. The mother and her representatives then can what they call cross-examine you. So they can then question you about your answers. So stay calm. You're not there to score points. You're just there to make sure that the court understand it in the way you look at it. Once that's finished, the mother will give her evidence, and the same thing will happen. She'll have to be sworn in or affirm. Her representative will ask her questions, very short questions, and then you will have the opportunity, or the judge on your behalf will have the opportunity to cross-examine the mother. The trap you do not want to fall into is by using this as an opportunity to have a go at the mother. Keep it plain, keep it simple. So the mother's saying, for example, I don't think you can look after our baby. You could ask her, what's worrying you about that? Tell us what your concerns are. And then at the end of the case, you can think, well, she said she didn't think I'd be able to change the baby. That was what she said when I cross-examined her. So at the end of the case, you can say, I asked the mother about her concerns, and she was worried about me changing the baby, but I've done a parenting course and I can do that kind of thing. So at the end of the case, you get a chance to literally say that kind of thing, just finish it up and re-emphasise that all you want is for your child to be able to have a relationship with both its mother and its father.
Keeping calm in court, it can be quite a challenging place to be if you're there in person or if you're doing it online. I think the best thing to do is be prepared, like we've talked about. Stay calm. Talk to someone before court, or even a couple of days beforehand if you've got your day. If there's someone you can talk to about it to try and help you ease those anxieties. And it is about staying calm, focusing on what the positives are that you're bringing to this, that you want to be there for your child, you want to have those responsibilities, you want to take on that challenge of making sure that your child has the best outcomes.
Try and remain calm. It is difficult if you feel you're not coping, or you feel you're going to say something that's not going to help you. Ask for a break. Nobody's going to mind. They're going to want to help you explain what it is you're suggesting.
One of the most important parts of the process is your personal statement, so put some real focus into getting it right.
Give yourself plenty of time. Jot down some ideas. Write it from the point of view of the child. What's going to promote the welfare of your child? Try and avoid making allegations, but do deal with things that the mother's going to say. So give yourself plenty of time to do this. Certainly at least 2 weeks before it's to you to go in. You will be directed as to who you've got to give the statement to. It's likely to be the mother or her representative, and also to put a copy into court. But you will receive instructions on the order that comes out of court telling you exactly what to do. You will also want to make sure that Cafcass, if they're involved, have a copy of your statement. So you're going to be nervous, you're going to be worried. Remember, you are pushing an open door. The court wants your child to be able to have a relationship with both its mother and its father. So all you've got to do is remain calm and courteous and listen to what's going on around you. Stand up when you're asked to stand up, sit down when you're asked to sit down. The court is going to direct how things happen. It's not your show, it's the judge's show. So follow the judge's lead and do what's asked of you.
You're going up against a judge, and you'd never think that would ever happen in your life. But when you're across from like the mother of your child and you sat there trying to prove your worth, it's hard, because most people rely on the mothers and they always go to the mothers. So when you're trying to be a dad, it's a lot harder. And when the judge read out my statement, he realised how much work I'd put in to try and be a good dad, and he gave us a chance. The fact that I'd proved myself with all the work that I'd put in at Young Dads, it was proof that I was going to be a good dad and that I was dedicated to being responsible, and I was going to try everything I could to try and get to see my child.
Please remember, the law states that wherever possible, both parents have a right to see their child. The more work you put into the court process, the better your outcome will be.
Let's watch some final key points from the team.
It's important for a dad to have a role just like it is for a mother. So it's like they always say a mother has a close bond with her kids and so on and so on. I feel like a father has a sort of the same thing. I feel there's no difference. Like the only difference is obviously the gender. Other than that, there's no difference at all. Like with my daughter, I like the fact of being in life, because in that way she knows that I'm a dad and I'm there to protect her. Like, I like the idea of that. I like the fact that she knows that she can come to me. So it's like, I feel just the same way as a mother would really. You're there to protect your kid, and that you're there to do what's best for your children. So I feel like either way you're benefiting them, because no matter what, the mother or father can teach them how to talk, teach them how to walk, ride a bike, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. It's exactly the same. So I feel like it's just equal responsibilities from both sides of the party, really.
The advice I would give to young dads is just to seek out and take as much assistance as you possibly can. There is support out there. It's not always easy to find. And I think for young dads, they can sometimes feel that the odds are stacked against them, that they're kind of divorced from the system that's protecting the mother, for example. But so the advice would be, really just seek that advice, take as much as you can, and focus on what's best for your child. Keep that in mind the entire way through. It's very difficult to move on from the past, but you need to try to do that and move on to think, well, in the future, how do I want my relationship with my ex-partner to be? What kind of relationship do I want to have with my child? And what kind of arrangements do I want in place in terms of my access or, to that child?
My advice to young dads or anybody going through private law proceedings is to see this as a process, a positive process. It's really sad, and I always feel really sad that the family court needs to be involved in family life, because it shows that things haven't been great at home. And whilst that's tough for mums and dads, we've got to think about the child at the centre of that. So if it's tough for us as grown-ups, how much more difficult is that for somebody of younger age? So see it as a process. I don't think it would be fair to say that things happen instantly or very quickly, but the courts and Cafcass are as keen to get proceedings to a point where an order can be made or people can agree that the arrangements can be safe and meaningful for that child as much as the parents. It is always better if parents can agree with the court's assistance about how things could come to an end than an order being imposed which neither parent wants, and ultimately it might not best serve the longer term interests of the child if there's no communication and things break down and you're back in court. So it is really, really serious. It's a very serious matter to be in the family court. I would just say be as open and honest as you possibly can, and be willing to have some of those really tough, difficult conversations about what family life looks like for you and what it might mean to your child. We're not there to criticise, we're there to make sure that every child in the family court is safe, is protected, and has a really good experience of being a child.
Whatever judge you're seeing, call them either sir or ma'am. Always be respectful. Always come across as calm. Try not to get angry because it's not going to help you. I know it's difficult and it's deeply upsetting, but this is a formal process and the judge needs to be able to hear what you want to say, and they're not going to hear that if you're not coming across as calm and considered.
The advice I would give to young dads who haven't been through the court process and are scared to, I would say try and find someone who will be able to give you courage, a friend, that way they can help you out, because you can't do it alone.
There's lots of information on the internet. The government website is the best one to go through because that information is correct and up to date. And also understand that you're not the only one that's going through this process. It can be long, it can be hard, it can be challenging, okay? But if your child's welfare and upbringing and you want to be a positive part of that child's life, then you should go for it. It's going to be challenging, it's going to be difficult, there's going to be maybe some awkward questions that are asked. But if you're doing it for the right reason, then there is support out there. And ultimately, what we want as a charity for North East Young Dads and Lads is for children to have the opportunity to have positive time with both their parents. And that's really important.